Alright, we finally made it to our last 2 moments of childhood. So, we're gonna bring in the coin to figure out which one we're gonna do first. Heads will do grown up, and tails we will do barbecue. Hiya! Tails! Alright, let's barbecue. That's actually kind of appropriate. We're gonna do grown up and then grow up a little bit at the end of the day. There we go. Barbecue. Let's go. Now we're in a new place that I've never seen before. It looks great. You'd been brought along to the Big Park today, which did an excellent job of living up to its title. The park near your house, with its lonely playground equipment, wasn't even a quarter of the size of the expanse of grass and trees that lay before you now. As it was in the next town over, and too far for you to walk to by yourself, you didn't get to visit it much, and so you soaked up the environment. Another difference between this park and the one in your neighborhood was that this one had visitors other than you, Lizzie, Shiloh, and Cove. Today it was the busiest you'd ever seen it, thanks to a community get-together luring people in from all over the local area with the promise of barbecue and fireworks. Ooh! Your family and Cove's were just 2 of many. What seemed like dozens of cars were parked up already when you had arrived. You saw Cove hesitate as he took in the growing gaggle of strangers. By your mommy, Lizzie bounced on the balls of her feet, barely containing her excitement. I was nervous. I couldn't wait for the fireworks. I wanted to meet more kids. I'd rather stayed home. My tummy was already rumbling for the food to come. Even if it was bigger, this park wasn't as special as the one back home. I probably would either be fireworks or hungry. You know what? Let's go food. I love food. It was going to be so good. Mommy had told you that the people running the community event weren't charging for it, but she wanted them to get something in return. Which is why you'd not been allowed to touch the beautifully iced cupcake she had carried on her lap during the drive over. It was a special treat for them. Every time the car made a turn, she'd clutch the box tight enough for her knuckles to strain, much to everyone else's amusement. Mr. Holden's contribution to the party, a huge pack of juice boxes, was tucked under his arm after being retrieved from the car's trunk. You bet there had been no such dramatics around that cargo getting here in one piece, but the boxes did lack the beautiful shimmer of Mommy's treasured cupcakes.
Okie dokie.
Everyone all set? Should be. Cove, did you put sunscreen on before we left?
Yeah, I always do. You don't have to tell me. Mr. Holden deflated, his attempt at caring for his son rebuffed, but he triumphed with a smile.
Good kid.
I don't want you getting burned. Or dehydrated either. It'll be a busy day.
Well,
Don't think there's going to be any risk of that second part.
Mom nodded at the tables up ahead, laden with all kinds of food and drink. She was right, there was plenty to go around. The parents headed over, with you, Lizzie, and Cove trailing after them. A bunch of grown-ups were clustered around there, chatting, but you were more intrigued by what was on the tables. Some of it was familiar. Chilled meat, sliced vegetables, big bags of chips. But there was a lot that you didn't recognize. Your moms had said that you weren't to touch the food until they said it was time to eat. I mean, this may come as a surprise, but I was generally a good kid when it came to that kind of thing. Where it's like, okay, you know what? I can wait. I can wait for food. It always actually used to bother me as a kid when other kids would go up and just take things. Probably because it was unfair. Because I couldn't. I wonder why that was the rule I followed, but other ones I didn't. Anyway. You felt that was important. I did. You saw that Mommy and Mr. Holden had deposited the food and drink they'd brought. Mommy gave the cupcakes one final worried look before turning to you with a smile.
Since that's the topic at hand, how about we freshen up with something to drink?
Yeah!
That'd be great.
Along with the ones out, there was a giant ice cooler on the ground stuffed full of cans of soda, boxes of juice and milk, as well as bottles of water. Your drink was... soda, water, juice, or milk. it probably would have been soda. The bubbles in the soda tickled your nose as you gulped it down. Your little group took a break while everyone quenched their thirst. Mr. Holden smacked his lips, pantomiming enjoyment.
That hit the spot. But you kids should go have fun. You can take your stuff with you and join the other kids playing games. Just don't go too far from the tables. We'll be keeping an eye out, so don't even think about sneaking off. We're not going to the other parts of the park today.
Lizzie huffed at their comments. They did sound directed at her, but she scanned the surroundings. Nodding her head towards a group of kids like a general directing their battalion, she pointed the way.
Come on!
Let's go over there! Cove's mouth was downturned as he looked from the parents and the other adults to the new kids, clearly not favoring either option. But ultimately, he hunched his shoulders and tagged along after Lizzie. I mean, I'm going. Bye! You followed after Lizzie and Cove, who were waiting for you on the outskirts of the group of parents. Hurry up! You picked up the pace, moving into a jog, but when Lizzie pelted away at full speed, you and Cove had no choice but to break out into a run. The other kids were far out in the field. Still, at your speed, it wasn't long until you'd reach them. As you approached, they turned around to greet the newcomers.
Hi!
I'm Lizzie. That's my little sister Molly. The one with the cast is Cove. Hi! Cove simply lifted a hand in greeting. There was a chorus of hellos and names from the other kids. One of the kids looked to be about Lizzie's age or older. A couple seemed to be the same age as you and Cove, and there was one tiny little thing with his arms folded over his chest. What are you up to? The first kid, a boy with curly black hair and neon green sneakers who'd introduced himself as Hayden, shrugged as he looked to the others. Not much. The second kid to pipe up, Lisa, had half her face obscured behind the huge glasses she wore. We haven't decided yet. She glanced wistfully over her shoulder. Following her gaze, you saw the spray of water first and heard the shriek as someone got splashed in the face before you spotted the person shooting them. Some people are playing with water guns, but there aren't any left. The smallest kid, Noah, grumbled at that. You guessed that was why he was sulking. Spencer, who hadn't said much, patted his shoulder. So that's out. A new kid raced over with a glint in her eyes and her braids streaming behind her. You spotted the plastic orange pistol in her hand too late, when the trigger had already been pressed. Ah! Rude! Hey! Lizzie, who'd been caught first, was fuming. Cove wiped the water from his face. You rubbed at your ear, trying to dislodge the water that had pooled there. Of all places, my ear! I probably would have been annoyed. Don't spray people! You were with Lizzie. It was mean to spray people who weren't playing too. The girl simply darted off to find more victims, unaffected by your reaction. She doesn't mean anything by it. Lizzie tutted, flicking her hair out of her face. The girl not meaning anything by it didn't change the fact that she'd been sprayed. Cove looked similarly unimpressed. Lisa's face lit up as she had an idea. Hey, we should catch her! She won't be able to spray people if she's running away from everybody. Yeah! Cove nodded as the other kids murmured their interest or lack of it in the game. I think I would have just been like, okay. Okay. You joined the group of kids and tearing off after the girl with the pistol. Spotting you all over her shoulder, she laughed and shot her pistol in the air, only a couple of drops squeezed out. She swerved, causing discord within your team as someone stood on your foot and you collided with Cove's shoulder. Whoops! Cove shot you a smile that gave you a feeling of camaraderie. It's okay. Thank you. You were closing in on the girl, but you weren't alone. Lizzie's face was set with intent, and the two older kids were hot on her heels too. I mean, I would definitely try to outrun. Which one of these would it be, though? I was pretty fast. I'm gonna flip for this one, whether I outrun them easily or outrun them with effort. Heads for the top, tails for the bottom. Hiya! Tails, alright.
Whew, let's go, girl. Effort.
You pushed yourself, willing your legs to move. Whoops. You willed yourself to not press wrong buttons, willing your legs to move just that bit faster. You were close, and then you tackled her to the ground. You did it! The girl who had been caught giggled as she got to her feet, brushing strands of grass from her knees. Smiling, Cove came to a stop at your side. Lizzie whooped with delight, clapping her hands. The boy with the bright sneakers grinned. You're it now. Catch us if you can!
Yeah. I'll do it. You won't get away from me.
With that, you all disperse, squealing and laughing as you tried to evade capture. The sour mood from earlier had evaporated entirely, replaced by a light and playful atmosphere. That's nice. Several rounds later, when most of the kids had taken at least one turn as it, the scent of smoke wafted up to your nose. Caught by surprise, you looked up and found that the brilliant blue of the sky had turned orange as the sun sunk down on the horizon. With all the excitement, you'd lost track of time completely. Looking over, you saw people standing over the grills and poking them to life. It was nearly time to eat.
We should get over there. I'm so hungry.
Our parents are at different spots. Yeah.
Bye. It was cool playing. Yep. Bye. See you.
You waved goodbye to the other group of kids before hurrying over to your parents with Lizzie and Cove. A tickle unfurled in your throat, growing more persistent as you came closer to the source of the smoke. As the three of you approached the tables, your parents spotted you and came to join you halfway. You tried to greet them, but another cough obstructed your words.
Woof, that's quite a cough.
Aww.
Are you alright, sweetie?
I'm fine.
Are you sure? No one needs to go up to the grills if they don't want to. Just let me know what you need.
There was no response from the other two kids here. What would I have done? I used to get food with my parents, but I don't think I could do that in this case. I like to handle my own food.
I can do it.
Alright, but tell me if it gets too much for you.
So,
The main thing being served is kebabs. You can have whatever you'd like on it. There's different meats and veggies.
As you approached, you found the vast array of bits and pieces ready to be skewered and served up. You chose, my goodness, so many choices. I would like pork and potatoes, definitely. And onions. And that's everything.
Sounds good to me. The veggies will be good for you.
I'm glad my moms approve of me picking some vegetables. Order given, you waited for your food to be ready. Lizzie headed towards you, having issued her own request.
Hi again. I heard what you ordered. I'm getting a chicken kebab with all 3 colors of peppers.
Noticing that Cove approached, she turned to him.
What are you having?
why? Why does it matter?
I don't know. I was just asking.
I'm getting beef and shrimp with all the vegetables except onions.
Lizzie hummed while evaluating his response.
That's okay, I guess, but chicken is definitely the better one.
Then you can eat all the chicken.
I'm going to.
All the chicken in the world? I love that.
I mean, I went for pork, so I can't be like, chicken's the best choice. Chicken was going to be my second choice, so I can't be chicken is the worst either. I guess I'm just gonna go for the top one. Although this one is really funny. All the chicken in the world. I kind of do want to pick that one too. You know what? I am going to do it. I'm gonna rib my sister a little bit.
All the chicken? In the world?
No.
That's dumb. You know what I mean.
Do I? Lizzie peered over to the grills where the kebabs were being handed out. A growing assortment of kebabs collected in your parents' hands.
They're coming over. Don't get jealous of mine when you realize you made the wrong choice, Cove.
I didn't make the wrong choice.
I feel like sighing too. Like, ugh, this girl. Would I be frustrated at this point of the conversation? I don't think I would be. I think I would do the top one.
There isn't a wrong choice. It's just what kebab somebody eats.
The person serving gave your mommy one final kebab, then your parents moved over to rejoin you. Between them, they were carrying 6 kebabs, one for each of you, including Cove and Mr. Holden.
We've got the goods. Cove's daddy is looking for a place we can sit.
In the meantime, they began passing out the kebabs to their rightful owners. Lizzie smiled smugly as she received hers.
These are pretty big. Be careful not to drop it. Try not to poke yourselves with the ends either. They're sharper than you might think.
Hearing that, you tentatively pushed the tip of the skewer against your finger. It felt like the point of a newly sharpened pencil. Though it didn't hurt your hand, you wouldn't want it scraping the roof of your mouth or jabbing your tongue. Mommy clucked her tongue.
It would have been nice if the options were a little easier to manage and less messy to eat, especially for smaller kids. There aren't even plates for everyone, so we could set the food down for a second.
True.
That's what you get for the price of free. But we can hack it, right?
Lizzie nodded her head vigorously, clutching her kebab like a trophy. Your parents led you back to the tables. It was immediately evident why Mr. Holden had been sent to scout one out. The benches had quickly filled up as people got their food. Mr. Holden was standing over a corner section near the edges of the sitting area. He beckoned your group over to join him. You clambered onto the bench, taking care not to let your kebab slip from your fingers. Cove took a seat next to you. Lizzie took the other side. Your mom passed the final unclaimed kebab to Mr. Holden.
Thank you.
This looks delicious. Thank you for getting us a space out here.
Everyone tucked into their food. You gobbled it up eagerly, only partially obstructed by the awkwardness of eating from a skewer. Running around with the other kids had helped you to work up an appetite.
Mr. Holden, what do you do?
Well,
I do a lot of things.
Do you play golf?
Only if you count mini golf.
One look at Lizzie's stricken face confirmed that she did not. She could enjoy the occasional round at a mini-golf place, especially if she had an audience to impress, but your sister took her passion very seriously.
Even then, it's been years since I gave it a shot.
Ah, I see. I understand now. Cove groaned at the feeble pun. Mom chuckled. You weren't sure if she was responding to the joke, Cove's annoyance, or Lizzie's offense.
Don't worry about it.
Just as well. She'd be dragging you to the green every week.
That's because I've got dedication. You need a good drive or two to get far.
Mr. Holden nodded, clicking his tongue in appreciation. Cove looked from his father to your sister, lost in the conversation.
Outclassed in golf and wit.
I don't get it.
I wouldn't get it either if I didn't live with her. I have to hear this stuff all the time. You should give real golf a try. Maybe I'll even teach you some tricks.
Don't try to change my dad to be more like you.
Lizzie gave Cove a dirty look at the accusation. Mommy felt the need to move the topic ahead before it got heated.
Oh, nice.
That's really sweet of you, but I'm sure Mr. Holden is busy. He might not have time for another hobby. Yeah, I don't think I'm made for that. Still, the offer is appreciated.
Why?
Then tell me something you really do already. You just go away every day.
I like scuba diving, though with the business, that's more work than play these days. Surfing and reading, snorkeling.
Yeah, I probably would have been like, Cove likes all these things too.
Those are things Cove likes.
Mr. Holden exaggeratedly puffed out his chest.
What can I say? My boy's got good taste. He takes after his dad in that way.
I'm shocked that Cove wasn't snippy about it. Or deny it. That's good. The sun had been setting when you'd got your food, and by the time you'd finished, night had truly fallen. Your sticky fingers were the only remaining evidence of your meal. The kebab had been a great combination, more than the sum of its parts. The seasoning of freedom, to choose every ingredient yourself, was what made it something to remember. I love that. The seasoning of freedom. Rising from the table, Mommy held up her water bottle.
Okay, now that the food is gone, you've got to wash your hands.
Okay.
Molly, Lizzie, please hold them out.
Lizzie complied, coming over and cupping her hands together in front of her. Mommy splashed some water over her fingers, and Lizzie rubbed them together, working off any residue.
Here.
Mom passed her a paper towel from her purse, and Lizzie used it to dry off her hands.
Your turn, Molly.
Yeah, I didn't like sticky hands. I was actually going to make a joke that, does anybody have any wet napkins? Because I liked using those to wipe my hands after sticky meals. Copying Lizzie, you washed your hands, taking care to clean every crevice between your fingers before wiping them dry. Nearby, Cove had taken his own course of action, wiping his hands on his pants and leaving a stain where his fingers had been. Mr. Holden shook his head.
Come on.
Let's clean that off, pal.
He scrubbed at the fabric with a scrunched up napkin.
Dad, it's not that bad.
When everyone was cleaned up, or as clean as they could be with the limited facilities, Mom spoke up.
Let's go.
Let's go make one last check at the coolers and restock on drinks before the fireworks show.
No time! We have to get a good spot. Everywhere's gonna be taken.
How about I go ahead to save space again? You can meet up with me in the field after getting the drinks.
Then I'm going with Cove's dad. I'll find the perfect place.
Okay.
Sure thing. I could use an extra pair of eyes.
Mommy shook her head ruefully at Lizzie's even more enthusiastic than usual attitude.
That's fine.
All right. Me, Cliff, and Lizzie can go find a place to sit. Pam, Cove, and Molly, do you want to go get the drinks?
Okay.
I would just nod, probably. As Mommy, Lizzie, and Mr. Holden headed off into the wide open field where the fireworks were being set up, you joined Cove and Mom in returning to the cooler where you'd picked up drinks earlier. Even as you approached, you suspected you wouldn't find much in it. Where it had originally been stocked to the brim, it was now half empty. The ice, which had cushioned the drinks and kept them cool, was largely melted, with only a handful of pieces floating like tiny icebergs.
Slim pickings.
The drinks that remained looked to be bottles of plain water, but you caught a glimpse of something more colorful in amongst them. Mom rummaged around in the cooler, excavating a couple of juice boxes from the bottom in the process.
Aha.
Molly, Cove, you can take one of those if you want. The perks of helping.
Yay! What would I take? This is a tough one, actually. You know what? I'm taking a juice box. Cove hesitated, but decided to take a juice box for himself. Good choice. When you were each loaded up with your chosen drink, plus an extra bottle or two for someone else in the group, Mom's phone started to ring. She juggled the water bottles over into the crook of her arm and looked at the caller.
It's Mommy. Hold tight while I get this.
How are you?
Hey, hon. How's it going? Did you find our perfect spot already?
She nodded along to the call, punctuated by ahas as Mommy gave her directions. Catching your eye, she gestured towards the grassy area.
We've got a place. Come on, we'd better hurry before the show starts.
You and Cove jogged after your mom, who led you through the field, and the separate groups of people assembled there, back to the rest of your families.
Hello.
We're here, and we come bearing drinks, though there wasn't much left.
The three of you handed over the spare drinks. You gave Lizzie a bottle of water, but she only had eyes for your juice box.
Molly and Cove have juice.
They helped get the drinks. You got to pick where we sat. Don't be selfish.
Thanks, Mom.
I'm not.
Good. Then you're going to thank us for bringing you your very own water bottle.
Thanks.
Once everyone had been equipped with a drink for the big event, you sat on the grass beside Cove and waited for the magic to begin. Most people in the park had taken a seat now, with a few stragglers silhouetted back at the tables in the distance. A few rambunctious kids were still dashing about, but their number was steadily decreasing as their parents called them over and restored order. Someone bearing a cardboard box weaved between the groups, pausing every so often. You nudged Cove and pointed.
What are they doing?
It looks like they're handing something out. I can't make out what it is.
What a pickle.
I hope it's not drinks.
Mommy chuckled, but Lizzie and Cove were now watching the bestower of mystery goods keenly.
Are they gonna come to us too?
Mom softly put her hands on top of your sister's shoulders, as if she feared Lizzie might bolt over to the stranger. Lizzie didn't even glance at her, eyes locked on the potential prize.
I don't know.
In that case,
We'll have to wait and see.
I mean, I would be intrigued, for sure. Studying the man with the box closely as he gradually meandered nearer, you could make out he was handing out small items to most of the groups he stopped at. They seemed too short to be water bottles, but beyond that it remained a mystery. Then the box man made his way to your group. Evening! I'm handing out dessert. Any takers?
There's dessert?
Lizzie squealed, hopping up off the ground. The man chuckled. Ooh, what is that? I'm gonna take that as a yes. Ice cream's on the menu. Vanilla flavored with a twist of either chocolate or strawberry syrup. I want chocolate!
nice.
None for me, though. Thanks. Same, but the offer is appreciated.
I want chocolate.
Can I have strawberry?
And a strawberry for me too, please.
Now you are going to have to make a decision. Chocolate or strawberry? I want chocolate! Would I say it or pull on my mom's shirt? You were lactose intolerant, sad. Yeah, I would have been just like,
I'm gonna get chocolate.
reaching into the box, the man brought out the requested ice creams and tossed them out. It came packaged in a little plastic cup, complete with a wooden spoon stuck to the paper lid. The condensation wet your fingers in a pleasant way.
Thank you.
Kids, are you going to thank the nice man too?
There was a chorus of thanks. He cordially nodded and walked off to another group. The man couldn't spend much time with each group, considering how many he had to get to. You peeled back the tab that covered the ice cream and got right into your unexpected treat. It tasted amazing. Lizzie was definitely enjoying hers. Cove was too. You couldn't help thinking about how Cove had strawberry while you had chocolate. Yeah, I was gonna say, are you gonna offer to try a bite?
How would I have phrased it, though?
I think I would have asked. I was gonna say I would ask, do you want a bite of mine first? But I do want to try the strawberry. You know what? I'm gonna leave it up to the coin this time. Heads for the top, tails for the bottom. Hiya! Tails again. Goodness graciousness.
Want a bite of mine?
He looked around, awkwardly, but nodded nonetheless. You caught a bit of ice cream, making sure to hit the chocolate swirl that distinguished it from Cove's, and held it out for him. He nibbled at it.
Do you want some of mine?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
He scooped out a chunk of ice cream with his wooden spoon before holding it out to you. You took it gladly, and it was gone in one bite.
Oh.
What? Mommy, don't make this weird. Mommy was gazing at the two of you. Her mouth was an open smile, as if she was about to say something else, but Mom tugged on her collar.
Don't embarrass them.
Hey, if you're sharing, I'll take some.
You don't need it. You both have the same flavor.
So?
So what?
You're not taking any of mine. I mean, I'm hoping I'm not answering that she can have some of Cove's. I'm gonna save just to make sure. Because that's not what I'm intending by saying you can have some. She can have some of mine, but she's not having any of Cove's.
You can have some. Thank you, thank you, thank you! You're the best!
She enthusiastically took a bite of your ice cream before then offering you a bite of hers in exchange. In the end, that kind of made it pointless. You each just ate the same chocolate ice cream out of different cups. Your mommy did like to say it was the thought that counted, though. Ignoring that conundrum, Lizzie turned her attention back to her own cup of ice cream. Lizzie munched away happily, but it ultimately didn't succeed in monopolizing her attention. Eyes wide, she looked at her mommy and pulled on her pants.
Please!
Oh my goodness, girl.
I didn't get strawberry. Can I have some of yours? Please?
Of course.
Sweetie.
Lizzie cooed with excitement as Mommy presented her with a dollop of the ice cream and syrup mixture. Licking her lips, Lizzie lapped it up.
Mommy, come on now. Lizzie has all the ice cream she needs.
She simply laughed and pinched Lizzie's cheek, then dug her spoon in again and held it out to you.
I just can't resist. Molly, would you like some of mine? She's got a whole cup of ice cream to eat already, and had a bite of Cove's and Lizzie's. I think that's plenty. But that's not the same as getting a little extra from your mommy.
Ah. You ate the treat being offered, much to Mom's chagrin and Mommy's delight. This is why Mommy is best mommy. And Mom is best mom. Cove watched the exchange silently with a blank expression. Mom, on the other hand, shook her head, a fond smile on her face.
Well, you better at least give me some too. You could have gotten your own if you wanted ice cream.
What?
The kids have ice cream already, and they're getting some of yours to boot, and I have nothing. Now is when you decide to be firm.
Laughing, Mommy fed some ice cream to your sulking mom. She could never actually follow through with being tough.
There, there.
All better now? Yes. Good. How about you, Cliff? Would you like some? No, I'm still okay, but thanks for keeping me in mind. Cove, it's only fair that you get the choice too.
Cove shook his head firmly, concentrating on his own cup. Mommy smiled.
Okay, as long as no one is feeling left out.
Mommy was always so nice to everyone. Woo! Pretty. Then, the first firework cut through the sky, whistling as it ascended until it hit its crescendo with an explosion. The park flashed as if alight. Squealing, Lizzie leapt to her feet, her forgotten ice cream tumbling to the ground, as the firework crackled into tiny drops of glitter in the sky.
It's starting!
Everyone else looked up to the sky as another firework whizzed through the air. With each explosion, Lizzie would jump into the air. It was kinda neat. Yeah, I would not be able to tear my eyes from the scene. Cove sat by his dad, captivated by the sky sparkles and flashes overhead. Mr. Holden watched the fireworks scene impassively. He did smile at you, and even gave a thumbs up when he noticed you looking over. Mommy hopped to her feet, pulling Mom with her, pushing her into joining Lizzie and jumping up in tandem with every crack of a firework. Mommy then bent down to offer you a hand up too. Yeah, I would have definitely done this. Cove got to his feet, tailing after you as you stood with your family. Your mom's faces lit up, literally and metaphorically, as you approached. The five of you shrieked and leapt along with the sparkles in the sky, not trying to contain your joy at experiencing the sights together. The fireworks continued, some twisting like the coil of a spring as they arched into the air, others shooting straight from the ground and shattering into a million tiny specks. Every color got its spotlight in the show, from fiery reds to eerie greens and blues that could rival the ocean. The show built up to a grand finale that boomed over the park and filled every inch of the sky, the twinkling lights representing the full spectrum of the rainbow. Let's take a look at it. Very pretty. The exhilaration that had fueled you while the fireworks were going off was sapped dry now that the show had finished. You collapsed into a giggling heap on the ground, suddenly aware of how your legs ached from your exertion. Cove tumbled down with you, his expression gleeful. Mr. Holden watched his son with an expression much happier than the one he'd worn while watching the show. Lizzie gave a final whoop of delight and shared a high five with Mom as Mommy shouted for an encore into the night. You didn't know what that meant, but you liked the way it made Mom laugh. Though the sun had gone down long ago, the air on your bare arms was warm. You took in your giddy family, their spirits buoyed by the firework display, then your new friend and his father, who looked happy in their own quieter way and smiled. This had been a pretty special night. That was wonderful. I loved that. That was just an absolute delight. Alright, and now we have one more moment before summer ends. One sweltering summer day, you were in your living room with Cove, listening to the sounds of the birds chattering outside the window while you lay across the rug on the floor. Cove's dad had dropped him off earlier, and your moms had left the two of you, along with Lizzie, to play amongst yourselves. It had been too hot to go outside in the afternoon, at least according to Mommy, so your sister was starting to get impatient waiting for her golf class that evening. All of a sudden, these two moments, I haven't heard about golf any of the other moments, but these two moments, it's golf. The three of you had had trouble finding something fun to do. The beach and the playground were off limits, and you felt that it was too warm for anything like playing with your fuzzy toy animals. Then suddenly, a light came to Lizzie's big brown eyes and her smile spread wide across her face. Having an idea gave her a new wave of energy.
Since we're stuck inside, we should be adults. They don't play outdoors anyway. They're always inside and telling everybody they're too busy to play.
Why?
Duh. I said why, and it'll be fun.
What do they do inside that we don't? Besides use the phone a lot.
Excluding a small huff, Lizzie decides to ignore Cove.
What do you think? Molly, do you want to?
I think I would have been like, I don't know. Because, like, she wants to, but Cove doesn't, and I would have been in the middle like, Can we find something that everybody wants to play?
I don't know. Please, Molly. When have I ever had a bad idea?
Whenever we play with you.
Dang, Cove!
I wasn't asking you.
I mean, the bottom is me right now, keeping hesitating. Yeah, I'll do the top one.
I'll try it, but that sounds boring. It's not gonna be. I guarantee.
Lizzie seemed more determined than ever, and you could only sigh. Satisfied that neither of you were about to bail on her, Lizzie thought over her options while you watched. After a few seconds, she clapped her hands together and beamed, apparently having settled on something without asking either of you.
Okay.
I'm gonna be a professional golfer. Molly, you and Cove can be a beach volleyball player, a gymnast, or a tennis player.
Why can't we pick anything we want?
Because I have a fun idea, that's why.
And we have to play sports as adults?
Yep,
But there's other kinds of sports too.
Right?
it isn't the same. What do you think, Molly? Don't those choices sound super cool? You wanna be that, huh?
I mean, I also would be like, but what if I don't wanna?
Isn't there anything else we can be?
Lizzie stomped a foot on the ground.
Nope. Come on, just decide already.
Knowing Lizzie wouldn't let this go anytime soon, you sighed. Cove was not impressed with Lizzie's attitude, though he didn't bother talking more about it for now. He thought over the list of possibilities. Beach volleyball, gymnastics, or tennis. Out of all of them, you'd prefer to play... None of these really appeal to me now or back then. I'll go for beach volleyball because there's a beach involved. Maybe. If you couldn't spend the afternoon at the beach for real, then you might as well pretend you were there. You could even wear your swimsuit to make it seem more realistic, although Lizzie probably wouldn't let you run off and do that now that she had you here. Yes, that was clearly the top option.
I want to be a volleyball player.
All right.
How about you, Cove?
I'll have a volleyball team too.
Aw, yay! And don't you dare say that we both can't be volleyball players. Lizzie threw her hands in the air, making an annoyed sound. Girl!
You guys can't be the same thing. That's not how it works.
You didn't say that. The rule was picking from the list. You can't keep adding more.
Lizzie looked at the two of you, then shook her head, resigned to losing this battle but not the war.
Fine. You're both volleyball players, but you're on the same team because there's only one.
Lizzie's ponytail bobbed when she proudly stretched her arms wide.
The Olympic team!
What?
We're Olympic athletes who just competed in the Olympics.
Cove didn't seem all that impressed with the announcement. He made a face and adjusted the glasses on his nose.
That's really specific.
Rude.
That's what makes it fun. Anyway,
Lizzie marched back and forth in front of the both of you, getting lost in her own imagination.
I won all gold medals and people are calling me the next Mickey Wright.
Who's that?
Lizzie stopped on the spot and turned on him, her brown eyes shining with impatience.
It doesn't matter if you know who she is. It's a golf thing. You guys won medals too. Your team placed at silver. It's more real if we're not all first place. Hey, we can do better than silver.
You pouted at Lizzie, unhappy with the decision.
Molly's right.
Sorry.
Lots of people lose at the Olympics. Them's the breaks.
Then you're the one who did, not me.
Lizzie looked taken aback by Cove's declaration, as though the thought of her losing was completely absurd.
No way! It wouldn't make sense. I'm already practicing my golf game.
She took a golfing stance to make her point, pretending to swing her club and hit an invisible ball.
So, what kind of house do you want to live in?
Cove hadn't changed his mind about winning. Me neither. But thinking about where he'd live as an adult appealed to him apparently, because he looked back at Lizzie with some of the anger fading.
I'm going to live on the beach.
Same. Lizzie made a face at him, poking out her tongue.
That's kind of boring. We already have that.
No, not like the normal houses here with a street. On it. Right on the sand, by the water.
That has been my dream for years, Cove. Just like that, all the tension was back. You hadn't even had a chance to choose where you would want to live. It's okay, I'm living with Cove.
That's not very fun or smart, Cove. You can't live on a bunch of sand and shells.
But I want to, and I will.
Cove narrowed his eyes at Lizzie, even though she stood half a head taller than him.
You didn't give out a list of things to pick from this time, so I'm picking that. Why are we even playing pretend if we can't imagine anything?
Jeez.
Well, I'm gonna live in a mansion far away from here and far away from you. One with an indoor pool and a place to practice my award-winning golfing.
It's not fair.
How come you were yelling about mine when your idea is even more impossible?
Lizzie's face flushed red, her hands balling into fists at her sides.
It is not impossible, and it's better than yours.
Disagreements always seemed to crop up when the two of them were together, and you always felt like you were stuck in the middle. But when it came to the topic at hand this time, you thought... I mean, a mansion is cool too. But being on the beach was cooler. I agree with this.
Who wouldn't want to live on the beach? It'd be really great. You could have windows made from driftwood and seashell wind chimes. Ugh.
He smiled slightly over the agreement, then turned to Lizzie with bolstered confidence.
You can swim whenever you want if you live on the beach.
We can still swim anytime we want from where we live now. Being a little closer doesn't mean anything.
Says you.
The two of them scowled at each other.
You're being so unreasonable. You...
I don't get what you want. This game doesn't make sense.
Ugh.
It does. You have to be realistic. I said that.
But you're not.
You had no idea what to do to make them stop at this point. It seemed like the two of them would just keep working each other up as long as they could. Nothing you'd said so far had kept them from being mad. Thankfully, like a greeting card angel, Mom walked into the room. Save us, Mom. Lizzie rushed to her, hanging onto the hem of her shirt and poking out her tongue at Cove.
Lizzie! Molly! It's time to get ready to go.
You alright with that?
Sorry you have to leave already, Cove. Their mommy said she'll walk you home so you won't be left in the cold.
Cove was still glaring at Lizzie, his face flushed red with anger.
I can go by myself.
But...
Bye.
Bye, Molly.
There was still a harsh edge to the brief farewell, but you knew it wasn't you he was mad at. Poor Cove. Without giving Mom a chance to stop him, Cove stood up and stalked out of the room, shoulders drawn tight.
Huh?
Okay.
Worried, Mom turned to look down at you and Lizzie.
You two were playing nice with our new friend, weren't you?
I mean, I'm all for throwing my sister under the bus.
No, Lizzie and Cove kept yelling at each other. They wouldn't stop fighting about everything.
Your sister's jaw dropped, looking betrayed, as Mom put both hands on her hips. Hey, don't look at me like that.
Elizabeth! I told you to be kind to him. He's having a hard time right now.
Lizzie's mouth closed back up, replaced by a tiny frown.
I know. I tried, but he was...
That's enough.
No buts. We both know you can show someone a great time when you put your mind to it. We're going to apologize to Cove and his dad over the phone when he gets home from work tonight.
I think that's fair. I think that's more than fair. Lizzie hung her head, dragging a foot across the ground in front of her.
Okay, Mom.
Good girl.
You caught pieces of Lizzie sulking to herself about how it was his fault too, but it was over.
Oh, right. We better get a move on.
Let's go.
Let's go, kids. No, Ilani, where did you leave the car keys?
Mom hustled you all out the door, and you noticed during the car ride to golf practice that Lizzie was quieter than usual. She was usually the first one to request which music to listen to in the car, but she didn't say a thing. Your parents noticed she wasn't in a mood to be bothered. They gave her space, and Mommy just asked you what you'd like to listen to. Sweet. Yeah, I'm picking my favorite song. Eventually, Lizzie came around and started singing along with you. You both knew all the words, and your moms even sang along too. Whoa! Schwanky or what? When the car ride was over, you spent the twilight hour watching Lizzie hit things with other girls her age. You didn't know much about golf, but you could tell that she really liked it, so you sat with your moms and tried to puzzle it out. It was nice sitting outside after being cooped up in the house all day, and you stretched out your legs to let the last few minutes of sun warm your skin. When the sun was finally out of sight, dipping behind the horizon, you all got ready to leave. Instead of going straight home, your moms took the family out to dinner. Nice. You went to a restaurant you had all been going to ever since you could remember. The whole afternoon had been a bunch of shouting you hadn't been able to stop, but you could kind of tell that all this helped Lizzie be less angry. The car ride home was quiet, with only the radio providing escape from silence. Lizzie had been in better spirits now, but the closer you got to your neighborhood, the more she wiggled in her seat and frowned out the window. She knew what was coming when you all got back home. Clearly, she was dreading it. Soon enough, Mom was turning onto your street, then reversing into the driveway. Once she cut the ignition, it was dead silent. No one spoke, only unbuckled their seatbelts and opened their doors. Lizzie was the last one out. Once everyone was inside and done taking off their shoes, she propped her hands on her hips.
So,
Now then, Mr. Holden's car is in his driveway, so he should be back from work. That's good news, isn't it, Elizabeth? You and Cove can hash things out before the day's done.
Lizzie didn't complain or put up a fight. Her head ducked so she didn't have to meet anyone's eyes. She nodded once.
Good. Let's move this to the kitchen.
Mom went over to the house phone, the rest of you following behind her. Mommy put a gentle hand on Lizzie's shoulder as they walked side by side. You watched them from the back. This was only happening because you told on Lizzie. I mean, it was her fault. I think I enjoyed too much when my brother got in trouble, so... It's either this or this. I like the bottom one. You hadn't done anything wrong by telling the truth. It wasn't like Lizzie was going to say it on her own. The four of you stood around the kitchen in a lopsided square. All eyes were on Lizzie, who kept her gaze on her feet.
You remember the number for Cove's house, don't you, honey?
Lizzie jerked her head in another nod, sullen. Without further prompting, she stepped forward and she began to dial. Mom reached over and pressed a button on the base. Suddenly, you could hear the phone ringing. She turned on the speaker. The phone rang a couple of times, then stopped. Mr. Holden's warm voice came through the other end.
Evening. Holden residence.
Lizzie looked over at Mommy, unsure. She nodded encouragingly.
Hi, Mr. Holden. It's, Lizzie. Can I talk to Cove?
Absolutely.
Lizzie Wave Rider? What a surprise! But of course you can say hey to the boy.
He sounded cheery as usual, though definitely meant it when he said it was a surprise. You thought hard, and you were sure that your sister had never called Cove's house before. Mom spoke up before Mr. Holden or Lizzie could say anything more. Her arms were crossed over her chest, her lips pursed.
Hi, Cliff. Noelani, Molly, and I are here too. Good evening. We're sorry to bother you so late.
Hi. I'm here too.
Heya, Mr. Holden.
The gang's all here, huh? Is something the matter?
His voice grew a bit concerned. Mommy was quick to reassure him.
No, well, yes, but it's going to be okay. Lizzie and Cove got into a bit of a fight today. We were hoping that the two of them could talk and make up. Is this a good time for you and Cove?
What?
A fight? Cove didn't tell me anything about that when I came home. It does explain the funk he's been in tonight.
He chuckled lightly. Despite that, it didn't seem like he really thought it was funny.
Anyway, it's good. You didn't catch us at a bad time. I'll go grab him for you.
There was some shuffling on the other end. He must not have gone far, because you could still hear him calling out.
Cove? There's someone on the phone for you.
After a beat of silence, there was more muffled talking from Cove's dad.
Come on, bud. Lizzie called just so she could talk to you.
Are you sure?
Molly's on the other end listening too. Don't you want to say hi?
It took a bit of back and forth, though the conversation seemed one-sided since you couldn't hear Cove properly. Eventually, Cove took the phone from his dad.
Hi.
You opened your mouth, only for Mommy to catch your eye and shake her head softly. You frowned, but didn't say anything.
Hey. It's Lizzie.
Yeah, I know. Dad told me.
Cove's tone was defensive. Lizzie turned to Mom, scowling. One stern look from her, though, and Lizzie turned away.
Sorry.
I just called to say I'm sorry for not playing nice with you today. I won't do it again.
Lizzie's eyes were downcast, her voice low. You could tell she felt uncomfortable apologizing to Cove in front of everyone. She was still being genuine about feeling bad. Cove must have realized that too, because he sighed quietly. Thanks for including me, Cove. It's like, I will forgive you if you will give Molly and I the gold medal.
Me and Molly should get gold too.
That's right. Lizzie had kept denying you two what you deserved. Lizzie was momentarily stunned silent by the demand. She probably forgot that it even happened already.
All right. We all win the gold.
Okay. I guess I'm sorry too.
A sense of relief washed over everyone at his acceptance of the apology. Mom uncrossed her arms while Mommy's shoulders relaxed. Lizzie's eyebrows raised up. You wondered if she thought that he'd refuse her apology.
Dad, can I get off the phone now?
Mood. You couldn't see him, but it was obvious that Cove felt awkward about the situation. He had come off uncomfortable the entire time, really.
Yeah.
You can go back to your room if you want. Be sure to say goodbye first, though.
Bye, Lizzie.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Molly.
Hey! You perked up at the mention of your name. You smiled, even if he couldn't see it.
Bye, Cove.
With that said, Cove must have handed the phone to his dad and left, since Mr. Holden spoke up.
That's a relief.
All's well that ends well, as they say. Thanks for arranging this. I'm sure he appreciates it.
As Mom replied, Lizzie tugged on Mommy's hand to catch her attention.
Can I go now too?
Good job.
Sure, sweetie. Thank you very much for apologizing to Cove.
Mom flashed a brief smile at Lizzie and nodded her agreement. Given permission to leave, Lizzie scurried off towards the stairs. She seemed to be feeling much better with the incident behind her. Mom and Mommy returned to the phone, taking it off the speaker. They continued talking to Mr. Holden. You couldn't tell what about. You were glad that was the end of it all. Lizzie and Cove might not get along, and probably still won't, but they weren't mad at each other anymore. Mom and Mommy weren't upset either. Everything was finally back to normal. With that thought, you retreated to your own room with a spring in your step. Oh, I'm surprised that she wasn't mad at me for longer for ratting her out. Okay, that was cute. That was a sweet moment. I got my sister in trouble on the last day of summer. And then summer ended. Let's do this, actually. I think it's a little wrap-up from what I remember from the Kickstarter demo. So yeah, let's tie a bow on this. We're done. Step 1. Yes.
I'll never get tired of that view.
You stood beside your moms, Lizzie, and Cove as the 5 of you watched the sun dip into the ocean somewhere far, far away. You like to imagine it cooling off in the water, resting itself before getting ready to shine brightly again tomorrow.
That was a fun day. I didn't know they had magicians on the shopping street now. Neither did I. Oh no, we are so dull. Let's get out more.
He didn't do real magic, Mom.
How did you figure that one out?
Duh.
'Cause I know. That's not what real magic looks like.
Oh, Lizzie dear, there's all kinds of magic in the world.
Lizzie gave Mommy a suspicious look, but didn't dispute the claim. You looked over at Cove, who hadn't said a word since you started home. He didn't look upset, though, just content. You're aware he still hadn't quite warmed up to your parents.
Well, we can't sit out here all night. Time to hurry home and get cooking. Who's helping with dinner?
Lizzie immediately let out a groan.
Ugh.
Summer's almost over.
The protest was obvious. You could practically see school on the horizon. You certainly didn't want to spend your last bits of freedom cooking dinner. You could do that any other day. Yeah.
Please, can we play just a little longer?
Mom looked down at you with a sigh, and you clasped your hands together to give your plea some extra appeal.
We'll help with dinner tomorrow.
You immediately nodded in agreement with a very clever offer, shifting closer to Lizzie since your parents can't possibly resist the power of you two combined.
Please. Soon we'll have homework and reading to do. We can't do work now, too.
Lizzie made her case and then stomped her foot into the ground. You mimicked her, feeling that would add something to the argument.
Well...
No.
Oh, come on, Pam. I can help you with dinner.
Mommy leaned in for a hug, and you knew that you were very close to victory.
Okay.
Yay, thanks, Mommy.
But as soon as dinner's ready, you lot are coming inside, understood?
Yes, Mom. Yes, Mom.
Cove, dear, you're welcome to join us as well.
Yeah.
Cove gave a non-committal shrug to your mommy, which you took as an agreement.
So much to do, so little time. Maybe I could still get the seashell bracelet at Tines and Trinkets. Ooh, or maybe the playground. Or the fireflies would probably be coming out, right?
I'm going home after all that. I probably would have silently made my own plans. Lizzie had her own ideas of what she wanted to do, but what were you going to do? You glanced over to Cove, considering. A strong gust of wind made you shiver. Lizzie huffed as she wrapped her arms around herself.
Rude.
Doesn't the wind know that summer's not over yet?
That's all Lizzie said before abruptly turning on her heel and heading off in the direction your mothers had gone.
Where are you going? I'm going to my room. I have lots to plan if I want to make the most of tomorrow.
You thought this over, looking off towards the water again. Lizzie didn't wait, and before long she was disappearing off down the road. Meanwhile, Cove was going in the opposite direction, heading for the beach. Yeah, I was like, my plan is to be on the beach, in the water, preferably, as long as possible. Cove gave you a smile that you couldn't help but return.
Cool.
He made a little gesture that you interpreted as, follow me, and then started heading to the waves. Cove knelt down, picking up something you quickly identified as a smooth rock. Ooh, are we gonna skip stones? He reared his arm back, then tossed it out into the water. The rock sunk, kind of like a rock, and fell back down almost right after he tossed it. No. So I'm deciding how far he throws this rock, eh? I almost want to leave this up to chance. Hold on. Hang on a second. Gonna get my random number generator. 1 to 4. Okay, so this will be 1, and then this will be 4. 2! He got a 2. Sweet. That's pretty good. It was a good toss. That was pretty neat. Oh, interesting. I wonder... Oops, that's not quite what I wanted to do. Hold on. And then... Okay, so that's what he did, and this is my reaction. I understand now. Okay. I probably would look for my own rock, honestly. Deciding to join Cove, you searched nearby for any rocks or shells that you could throw to. You found a shell that would suit your purposes, a smile growing as you tossed it as hard as you could. It landed with a wet-sounding thunk a few feet away and slipped down into the water. When you looked over at Cove, he didn't seem to notice that his throw had been more impressive. Cove was looking down at his cast, scratching idly at the pink surface, even though you were pretty sure he couldn't feel it. His brows were furrowed and there was a frown on his face.
It's not fair.
I've had to wear this cast for ages. I can't even swim.
I am curious. I've never heard the story.
How'd you get it?
I was jet skiing.
That's not fair. Your eyes widened.
Really?
Cove narrowed his eyes a little.
Yeah, why would I lie?
I don't know. To sound cool, maybe.
He then continued to explain.
I crashed.
He gestured to his arm as if to say, and this was the result.
It's hard to believe you're allowed to jet ski.
Well, I'm not.
Oh.
Whoops. Cove let out a huff, plopping down into the sand.
I can't believe summer's almost over.
You sat down next to him and nodded in agreement, regardless of the sudden topic change.
I don't want to go to school. I mean, I would. I don't want to go to a new school. I think it'll be the same school as you and Lizzie. My dad said something about that.
Cool. You're going to like it. Everyone's super nice.
You'd only ever been to the one school, but you were sure that his old school couldn't have been that much better. Then again, he did have to make new friends and meet new teachers. It could be kinda scary. Cove shook his head and then wrapped his good arm around his knees as he drew them to his chest. Aw. You heard a sniffling sound, and when you took a good look at his face, you realized that his eyes were wet.
I want to go home.
You'd never had to move before, but you thought you could understand. If you had to go to a new school all of a sudden, with all new people, you'd probably be dreading it too. Even though you sort of maybe understood, you still weren't sure how to help. Well, I'll leave you in your cage of emotions.
Okay. I'll see you later.
Cove gave his head a small shake.
No. I want to go back home.
Right. Cove wanted to go back to his old home. The one that sat waiting someplace far from here. The one he would bring up whenever he felt this sad. It had been a while since he had moved in, but he didn't seem to feel any better about being here. You settled back down into the sand, trying to consider what to do.
It'll be alright.
Sometimes when you were sad about something, your mom said that to you. In the moment, you thought it couldn't possibly be alright, because Sir Stuff-a-Lot lost his arm, or you skinned your knee, or you couldn't possibly finish all your vegetables. But in the end, they were always right.
You're not going to leave, right? You'll still be around?
Aw, Cove, my heart. He's like, don't you leave me like everything else good in my life is left. The question was a little surprising.
I don't know.
Of course. Your parents would have mentioned if you were going to move or something, right? I hope. I hope we're not moving. After a second, Cove gave a little nod.
Once I get my cast off, we could go swimming.
You were fine with him changing the subject again.
It'll be too cold by then.
You smiled so he'd know you were only kidding. Cove smiled, then looked back to the waves.
My dad keeps saying I'll get used to everything eventually. That I'd feel better then. It used to make me angry. I didn't want to get used to everything.
You spared a glance over at Cove, and saw the anger had slipped off his face in favor of something almost puzzled.
But maybe that would be okay after all. As long as I really do feel better. I can't see it.
You could remember, a long time ago, when you'd first started going to school. You had absolutely not been okay with the idea of being away from your parents for most of the day, to listen to strangers tell you what to do and sit with kids you'd never met before. Things changing is hard. I really want to hold his hand. Heck it. You're not quite sure what to say to that, so instead you reach out and take hold of Cove's hand. The one closest to you is the one in his cast, so you make sure you were very gentle. As you watched, Cove's eyes got a little misty once more. You got the feeling that they were different tears than the ones from before, though.
I hope next summer I'll surf and go exploring, and everything will feel like it's supposed to again.
You gave Cove a big smile.
I hope so too.
The two of you sat quietly, just taking in the sounds of the waves. You hoped that Cove would be able to accept this place as his new home. You definitely tried to help in what ways you could. There were so many wonderful things here Cove probably hadn't even seen yet. Lost in thought, you started a bit when you heard a faint, familiar sound. The sound of your mom shouting your name. You looked over your shoulder, realizing it was probably time for dinner. Time had really gone by fast. You stood and dusted the sand off of yourself.
My mom's calling. It's time for dinner. You should come.
Cove looked up at you, expression screaming reluctance. Yet ultimately,
Okay.
when you smiled, Cove returned with one of his own.
Molly. Thanks.
Aww! It was nice where you were right then. But the two of you couldn't stay there in your own little world any longer. You were being called forward. So the both of you ran off towards your house, leaving the waves and summer behind. There it goes. There goes summer. In between, we have an in-betweensies. What happened in the in-between? We'll find out next time. Next time we do character creation. Again. Oh, that was great. We finished our childhood. That was so sweet and cute. Alright, next time, we start a new stage of life. See you then.